This lecture explains the Cauchy stress tensor through traction on an arbitrary plane. The key equation is traction equals stress dot normal. We will derive the tensor notation. Indicial notation. Matrix form. Physical meaning. Full hand calculation. Normal and shear decomposition. Projection tensors. Boundary conditions. And the fourth order elasticity connection? At a point inside a solid. Imagine cutting the material by a small plane. The traction vector is the limiting force per unit area acting on that plane. Its units are Pascal. The Cauchy stress tensor maps the plane normal into this traction vector. The precise notation is T of n because traction depends on which plane has been cut. Once the plane normal is specified, we often write simply T equals sigma dot n. The stress tensor is second order. The normal is a vector. And the result is a vector. In indicial notation, the traction law is Ti equals sigma ijnj. The index j is repeated. So it is summed. The index I is free. So the result has one free index and is a vector. Expanding I equal to 1, 2, and 3 gives the three traction components. In a Cartesian orthonormal basis, the tensor equation becomes a matrix vector product. The normal vector defines the orientation of the cut plane. The resulting vector is the force per unit area acting on that plane. Stress is not force. Stress has units of force per area. But the Cauchy stress tensor is not the actual force on a surface. First, the stress tensor acts on the plane normal to produce traction. Then multiplying traction by area gives the approximate force on a small flat patch. The stress components are most clearly understood through traction on coordinate planes. For the face whose normal is E1, the traction is the first column of the stress matrix. With this convention, the second index gives the face normal direction, and the first index gives the traction component direction. The diagonal stress components are normal stress components on coordinate faces. The off-diagonal components are shear stress components. For a classical Cauchy continuum without couple stresses, angular momentum balance gives a symmetric stress tensor. This qualification matters because generalized continua can have non-symmetric stress. We now use a symmetric numerical stress tensor in megapascals. The shear pairs are equal. Confirming symmetry. 1 megapascal is 10 to the 6th Pascal. So every entry has units of force per unit area. On a coordinate plane, the calculation is simple. For n equal to E1, the traction is the first column of the stress matrix. Similarly, E2 gives the second column and E3 gives the third column. This is the physical meaning stored inside the stress matrix. For an arbitrary plane, we must first check that the normal vector is a unit vector. Here the squared components add to 1. So the vector 1/3 times 1, 2. 2 is a valid unit normal. Now compute traction on the arbitrary plane. Multiply the stress matrix by the unit normal. The first component is 1/3 times 120 plus 60 minus 40. The second component is 1/3 times 30 plus 180 plus 20. The third component is 1/3 times minus 20 plus 20 plus 120. The same calculation can be written entirely in indicial notation. For each value of the free index I, sum over the repeated index j. The three-component calculations reproduce exactly the matrix multiplication result. The traction vector can be decomposed into a normal part and a shear part. The scalar normal stress is the dot product of traction with the unit normal. Equivalently, it is n dot sigma dot n. In indicial notation, both indices are repeated. so the result is a scalar. Using the traction vector and the plane normal. Compute the scalar normal stress by a dot product. The three terms are 15.56, 51.11, and 26.67 megapascals. The scalar normal stress is 93.33 megapascals. The exact fraction calculation avoids rounding. Substituting the exact traction components gives 140 over 9 plus 400. 60 over 9 plus 80 over 3. After converting the last term, the result is 280 over 3 megapascals. The scalar normal stress is not the same object as the normal traction vector. The normal traction vector equals the scalar normal stress multiplied by the unit normal. Here the result is parallel to the normal vector. The dyadic product gives the normal projector. Pn equals n tensor n. Its components or ninj. When this projector acts on traction, it extracts the normal traction vector. This matches the earlier formula. Normal traction vector equals scalar normal stress times n. The tangential projector is identity minus n tensor n. It removes the normal component and leaves the part of traction tangent to the cut plane. Therefore, the shear traction vector is traction minus the normal traction vector. Subtract the normal traction vector from the full traction vector to get the shear traction vector. The exact fractional check shows that this shear vector is orthogonal to the plane normal. Therefore, it lies in the cut plane. The shear traction magnitude is the norm of the shear traction vector. Using the rounded components gives approximately 30.73 megapascals. The exact fraction form gives the same value without relying on rounded entries. There is a second route to the same shear magnitude. Because the normal and shear traction vectors are perpendicular, the squared norm of the traction splits into normal and shear parts. Thus shear magnitude equals the square root of t dot t minus the normal stress squared. Sometimes we do not want the full shear vector. We want the shear stress along a chosen unit tangent direction m. The tangent direction must be perpendicular to the plane normal and have unit length. The directional shear stress is m dot t, or equivalently m dot sigma dot n. Choose m equal to 1 over root 2 times 0. 1. Minus 1. It is a unit vector and it is perpendicular to n. So it is a valid tangent direction. Taking m dot t gives 25.93 megapascals, which is less than the full shear magnitude. If the plane normal is reversed, the traction vector reverses. This is the action and reaction pair on opposite sides of the cut. But the scalar normal stress remains the same when the normal and traction are taken consistently. For the opposite face. For hydrostatic stress, sigma equals sigma h times the identity. The traction on any plane is sigma h times the normal. So it is purely normal. The shear traction is 0 on every plane. This is why hydrostatic stress changes volume but does not create shear traction. A uniaxial stress can be written as sigma 0 times E1 tensor E1. Using the dyadic identity, the traction on an arbitrary plane is sigma 0 n1 E1. The scalar normal stress is sigma 0 n1 squared. The shear magnitude shows why an inclined plane in uniaxial stress generally has shear traction. Pure shear stress can be represented using two dyadic products. Acting on an arbitrary normal, E1 tensor E2 gives N2 E1, and E2 tensor E1 gives N1 E2. The normal stress on an inclined plane becomes 2 tau N1 N2. Thus pure shear can generate normal stress on inclined planes. The physical traction vector does not depend on the coordinate system, although its components do. Under an orthogonal basis change, vectors and second-order tensors transform by Q. Substituting the transformed stress and transformed normal into the traction law gives the transformed traction. This proves the tensorial form invariance of the equation. In linear elasticity, stress often comes from strain through a fourth-order stiffness tensor. The fourth-order tensor maps strain to stress. Then stress maps the plane normal to traction. In the indicial chain, K and L are contracted with strain. J is contracted with the normal. And I remains free. So the final result is a vector. For isotropic linear elasticity, stress is lambda trace epsilon times the identity plus 2g epsilon. Substitute this stress into the traction law. The Kronecker delta turns Nj into Ni. The final traction formula has two parts: a volumetric part and a strain part. The dimensions are correct because lambda and g have units of Pascal. Now compute the full chain numerically. The strain trace is 0.0027. Lambda times the trace gives 108 megapascals. 2g epsilon gives the shear contribution in megapascals. Adding the volumetric part gives the stress tensor. Multiplying by the same unit normal gives the traction vector 84. 64. 120 megapascals. Stress also appears in the stress power density. Sigma double contracted with strain rate is a scalar with units of watts per cubic meter. This is different from sigma.n, which is a vector traction on a plane. The distinction between single contraction and double contraction is essential. On the boundary of a solid, the prescribed surface traction is written sigma.n equals T bar. In components, sigma ijnj equals T bar I. A traction-free boundary has zero traction. For an external pressure with outward normal, the boundary traction is minus pressure times the normal in a tensile positive convention. Stress, traction, and force are related but not the same. Stress is a second-order tensor. The unit normal defines the plane. Traction is a vector with units of Pascal. Force is obtained by integrating traction over area, or by multiplying traction by area when traction is uniform. The main mistakes are these. Stress is not a vector. Traction is the vector. With our convention, the correct index order is Ti equals sigma ijnj. Traction is not generally normal to the plane. Scalar normal stress and normal traction vector are different objects. Shear vector, shear magnitude, and directional shear stress are also different. The memory map is this. Traction equals stress dot normal. In components, Ti equals sigma ijnj. The scalar normal stress is n dot sigma dot n. The normal traction vector is obtained using n tensor n. The shear traction vector is obtained using identity minus n tensor n. The stress tensor tells us the traction vector on every possible plane through a point.